Is it important to connect to your own desires? Day One Journey, episode 1712. Well, interesting question. Desires. I always think about them as kind of momentary feelings. But I think it is important to connect to them, and I'll explain what do I mean by that. So there's always the interesting experiment that I'm thinking about. What would you do when you just wake up Saturday morning, you don't have work, maybe nobody is at home? What do? Nobody's telling you what to do, there's zero expectations. What do you actually do? This is a question or scenario that I read, I think, doing some exercise with figure out my purpose, my passions. Well, your passion might be connected to your desires. Maybe it is the same thing. But this kind of exercise, I think it's interesting to think about and also interesting to do. Of course, if you're able to do that. On a personal note, I actually did something very deliberately. After I finished the army, I went to a big trip, like a long trip to India and Nepal. And afterwards, I went to Thailand for the first time. This is like 18 years ago. And I was very deliberate in saying, okay, now I'm in India. Well, what do I want to do? No pressure, like I don't need to impress anybody. I don't need to send pictures to someone. Yeah, I was here, I saw the Taj Mahal. I wanted to put myself in this situation to kind of figure out what do I really want without any input from society. Yeah. So I think doing these exercises is important, is helpful. Again, going back to the question, it's important to connect to your own desires. So first, I would say it's important to understand your own desires. But in order to understand your desires, you want to kind of isolate yourself. In a sense, this is the same exercise. Get a weekend, go someplace, if you can, of course, and create a situation in which you just have all the time to sleep in the world. You go to sleep early, you wake up early, there's no work, nothing to do. What do you want to do? Interesting. Yeah, this is like put yourself there and then, get a pen and paper and start writing, start thinking, So I think this is what we can do to start to, before we connect to our desires, we need to kind of figure what they are. Some of them might be momentary. Some of them might be long-term. Maybe long-term, I would call it, long-term might be, more like a passion. But yeah, so first, kind of understand them. How do you do that? You create a situation in which you just don't have any input from other people, from society, other expectations, and you kind of have some kind of freedom, of course. You're in a place, you're in a hotel, you're in a resort, you have some money, so you can actually do things, and then you can test yourself. Okay, what do I want to do? Nobody's watching. What do I do? I think it's a very good exercise. So this is something good to do in order to kind of figure out what you want, your own desires. Then you can understand, well, I have this idea. Well, where did it originate from? Then maybe it's someone else's idea, Having this self-awareness process is kind of interesting. Yeah, like, why do I want to go there? Like, challenge your desires. Challenge if they're actually yours. Maybe it's someone else's idea. Maybe it's okay, it's someone else's idea, but you still want to do it. So this is understanding your desires. Yeah. And then for the ones that are actually you, when you isolate the things that you actually, then you can connect to them. How do you do that? You actually engage in this, whatever it might be. You have a desire to dance, to move, to exercise, I don't know. So you kind of engage with it. You give it the gift of your attention. You give it energy. Then you can connect to it. You just do more of it. So this is like in general, but also we can think about it on a day-to-day basis. This is something that my friend asked me on a day-to-day basis. How to distinguish between what other people expect from us, what we think we should do versus what we actually want to do. This is a challenge. I'm going to switch here so I can listen to something. So in that sense, just a second, I just got a phone call. I think it can interrupt. So on a everyday basis, how do you kind of connect to your desires? How do you know what they are? Well, first of all, you do need to kind of do some maintenance, yeah? Give yourself some time, some alone time, isolate yourself a little bit and kind of check in with yourself, yeah? You can do that like once a month, once in a year, go to a retreat or something like that. Isolate yourself also like with the location, actually be someplace else. But you can also do it kind of on a weekly basis, kind of just waking up earlier, having time for yourself before everybody else, and ask yourself these questions, yeah? Especially early in the morning, especially when there's no stress about going to work or something. I think this is what I did throughout the years. I'm actually just there with my journal writing and I'm asking questions. So if you want to figure out what are your desires, write it. What do I desire today, this week, this year? Maybe you will want to ask a different question. What do I really want? So I used to ask this question every single day. I kind of still ask myself. And I think this gives me clarity. And I do it in the morning and there's no pressure. I'm not being late for anything. So nobody's there around me. The phone is not there. I'm not responsive to any messages. And I think it can help having some kind of alone time, maybe every day in the morning, to create that while having energy. We need to go to sleep early. Means less random videos at night, less random internet, whatever, and go to sleep early. These moments to reflect. If you it's only you at home, you have much more freedom to do that. Disconnect, lie in your bed, no phone, nothing, and just close your eyes and think. And the time, sometimes it's not to do it before you go to sleep. Maybe you're super tired, just fall asleep. You actually want to think and imagine. And so having this alone time, yeah? So let's summarize. Is it important to connect to your own desires? Yes. It's also important to understand them. It's also important to understand what is the source, to actually make sure this is your own desires and not someone else's expectation, okay? Many people expect different things from us. Some people, like my parents, I think about my father, he thinks he knows what's best for me. Well, in some cases he's right, in some cases he's wrong. Yeah? So it's not necessarily his expectation of what I should do as a son or something like that. Sometimes he expects me to do something so I will be happy, but with his kind of perspective about the world. So he expects me to do the thing he thinks will make me happy. But again, this is still an expectation. So when I wake up in the morning, when I ask myself, what are my desires? I want to challenge each one of them. Is it really mine? Is it society's voice? Is it my parents' voice? Or is it really my voice? So yes, connect to your own desires, but first, understand what are your desires and make sure these are your own. This might take a while to figure out what kind of thoughts you have in your mind that are actually your own or someone else's. Sometimes when I dive deep into that, I'm going even back into time. Where did it start? So I desire, I like to be on stage. Yeah. I love that tension. So when did it start? Going back, going back, going back. Wow, actually, as long as I remember myself, I like to be like, there's a camera, boom, I'm jumping. This is me. Yeah. It has nothing to do with how my mom is, my dad is, my brother. I'm totally different than all of them. So it was always there. So I kind of know it's me. Yeah, and other things might not be me. So you have a certain desire. You woke up in the morning. You have the time for yourself, whether it's just in the morning, waking up before everybody else. Maybe you're in this retreat. You have time for yourself. You write in the journal. You're there. You're writing. My desires. What do I really want? You write. Then you can do this exercise. When did I start having this desire? Is it just today? Is it momentary? Just today? Do you have it yesterday? Do you have it? Yeah. When did I start becoming excited about it? When did I go back into the past and see where it originated from? Maybe you remember. Maybe you saw a show of someone. Maybe you saw a movie. I don't know, something. Maybe something happened. So diving back into the past, kind of figure out the origins, the sources of this desire can help you understand if it's really yours. And if it's really yours, yeah, it's important to connect. How do you connect? The same thing that you connect with anything else in your life. Whether it's an idea, a person, a dream, you give it the gift of your attention. You engage yourself while doing it. This is my ideas about that. Have an amazing day. See you tomorrow.